Hey guys, today I'm doing my recipe on sourdough starter pizzas. For more information, head over to my blog craftyepicurean.com. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the toppings that I do and how I set them up. So we're starting off with some cherry tomatoes, which I cut into slices. Then some canned pineapple pieces. I find them a bit thick, so I slice them into threes. I'm going to be using some basil pesto and some tomato paste as a pizza sauce or pizza base. Got a yellow capsicum or bell pepper here, which I'm just going to slice and then cut into small pieces. We'll put that aside into a container. Now I'm going to show you the ingredients or toppings that I've already pre-prepared. So I've got some red onion here, which I've just sliced, put that to the side. And the main ingredient or the protein is this chicken thigh meat, which I've marinated with a bit of olive oil and about a teaspoon of smoked paprika. The cheese, I'm just using standard Colby cheese or cheddar cheese. So we'll grate that for use later. Well, I really like cheese, so I don't like wasting it. So make sure you get all the grated bits off the grater. Just placing it into a bowl to save for later. Now it comes to the chicken. Pre-cooking the chicken, I've just heated a non-stick pan here, added a bit of olive oil and just adding the sliced smoked paprika marinated chicken. And I'm just going to stir fry that quickly until it's about half cooked. Alright, now for the sourdough starter pizza bases. You're going to need some extra virgin olive oil, some sourdough starter, now this could be discard, and what I like to put on top is dried oregano and a bit of salt, but you'll see how I do that in a second. So I've gone ahead and off screen I've preheated a pan on the stovetop. It's a cast iron pan. I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil and swish that around. Now you want to heat that pan until it is smoking hot before you add your sourdough starter. I'm adding about 1 to 1.5 cups of a sourdough starter. Again, it can be discard. And I'm just going to spread it out with a rubber spatula until it covers the whole base of the cast iron pan. And once you've got it to how you like it, I just add sprinkle a bit of salt and some dried oregano, or you can add whatever spices or herbs you like, but that's just what I like. It's nice and simple. And then place it into the oven, fan bake at 200 degrees Celsius. Now I've also preheated this baking tray. So you see I've got it really hot and I'm adding a good dose of extra virgin olive oil. You want to get that pan as hot as you can. Preferably a cast iron pan would be best, but I don't have one. This is a non-stick pan which has been well used, as you can see. Add your olive oil, add your sourdough starter, and add enough to make a pizza base however thick you like it. Now with the starter, if you can use active starter if you like, you'll just end up with a puffier base. If you just use discard, like you've refed your starter and then you've got discard left over, that's fine. It just won't be really puffy and you'll end up with more crispier bases. So I like crispy bases. This is just my sourdough starter discard. So I'll spread that out on my baking tray. Now I'm adding a sprinkling of salt and I'll add a sprinkling of dried oregano and very shortly. Dried oregano all over the base of the pizza just to give it a bit of flavour. Again, you can add whatever herbs and spices you like. And feel free to use fresh ones too if you want, or mix it through your sourdough starter base and see what happens. So now I'm going to put that into the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, fan bake at about 200 degrees Celsius. Here is the previous sourdough starter pizza base, and I've taken that straight out of the oven. That was after about 10 minutes, and I'm spreading basil pesto dip over the top, adding my toppings. Today I'm using red onion, pineapple, and a bit of that smoked paprika chicken. Add the cheese, and then place it back into the oven to crisp up the cheese and cook your fillings. Here is that baking tray that I showed you before, and the base, which is now cooked through, and that's come straight out of the oven. And now it's time to add the toppings. On this one I'm using tomato paste, and I'm just going to spread that all over. I just use store-bought tomato paste. Try and get to the edges, and then add your red onion, tomatoes, yellow bell pepper or capsicum, some of that smoked paprika chicken, and then we add some cheese. Rightio, and I've also added just a little sprinkling of smoked paprika on the top for extra flavour. And then pop it into the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, fan bake to brown the cheese off and cook the ingredients. So here's the previous pizza I made with the basil pesto topping or the sauce, and you'll see that it's quite easy to remove from the cast iron pan. I'm just going to grab a chopping board there to place this pizza onto. So you just run a silicone spatula or a wooden spatula around the outer edge, and it just slides off nicely. Rightio. Now this is, you will notice that there are no deadly nightshade ingredients on this pizza because I'm currently limiting how much I eat from the deadly nightshade family. So there's no tomatoes, no potatoes, no capsicum on this base, hence why I am using basil pesto dip as my pizza sauce. So we just cut this up. You can see it holds together really well and looks delicious. Right, and then it's ready to serve. Of course, you can leave it in the oven for longer if you like a crispier base or crispier topping or crispier cheese. It's up to you, there's no hard fast rules. And here's the baking tray bake pizza I did. This one has the tomatoes and the capsicums and the tomato paste. This is purely for my partner and my sons who love tomatoes. And so now, if you use a really good non-stick pan, it's really easy to remove, or you could add extra olive oil. I did have a bit of trouble removing this, and what I'm going to suggest is if you don't have a really good non-stick pan, what you can do is put a piece of non-stick baking paper down on top of the tray before you add your sourdough starter for the pizza base. So I'm going to show you how I do that now, how you can do that now. Okay, so yep, I put the baking paper down, so that's non-stick baking paper, and I'm just going to pour on or scoop on some sourdough starter discard. And again, you just use a rubber spatula to spread it out. You put on as much as you like. The more you put on, the thicker the base will be. I personally like something in between where it's a little bit of substance there, so it's a little bit thick, a little bit puffy, but the base of the pizza is really crispy. So I think on this one, from memory, I added about 3 cups of sourdough starter discard, and then I spread it out until I get to the edges or however big I want it. Again, having a good sprinkle of salt and some dried oregano. This is my favourite combination to flavour the bases with. But hey, feel free to let me know if you try something different and it makes it delicious as well, and you think it's a delicious combo. I'd love to try it. Alright, so now that that's ready to go in the oven, put it into a preheated fan bake oven at 200 degrees Celsius. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes, again and as you can see here, it's really easy to remove from the pan because of that non-stick baking paper. And it's also a bit healthier because you don't need to add the extra virgin olive oil. So here I put pieces of foil in between each base, put it into a Ziploc bag, and then put it in the freezer. Now that's how I make my sourdough pizzas. So for more information, head over to my blog, CraftyEpicurean.com. And thank you for watching.